Okay, so here's the thing, guys. James Gunn really sucks at his job, and we need to talk about it. Now, here's the thing. I am a bad messenger for this, but, hear me out. Okay, hear me out on this. Now, I know I'm a bad messenger on this, but here's the problem. Nobody else is actually messaging this the right way. Nobody else is talking about this the right way, and therefore, I got to come in here and I got to give this take. And here's the thing. Hear me out on this. I'm actually going to be gentle. I'm going to be respectful. And I think I'm going to make actually a really good point here. Okay. So, I think the truth of the matter is that many folks actually clocked James Gunn super fucking early on some of his bullshit. Okay? And I think, unfortunately, what happened was in those very early days, there wasn't enough evidence to prove that at the time Gunn was being exactly what many people thought he was being. And you had this like weird backlash to the criticism, so much so that it kind of just became a thing. And so now that Gunn is actually doing all of the things that people were trying to call him out for years ago, and it's super obvious. The problem is now it feels like we can't come out and say, I told you so. And it's difficult to like point these things out or hold these things up because of like the weird early backlash that happened. It almost feels like there are people so dug in on defending Gunn that now, years later, staring right in our faces, it's like impossible for some people to actually see exactly what is happening. Okay, so what am I talking about exactly here? Well, I'm mostly talking about him being overexposed, but also it's just the strategy of the entire company. Okay. So right now, Peacemaker's going on, you know, and I don't really talk about Peacemaker. As I've said many times, this is not really my thing. I'm not a huge fan of Gunn's sensibilities. I don't really like that really irreverent stuff or whatever. Okay. But, you know, I also think, hey, this is his shit, right? He was making this before he got the president job. I would imagine he wants to continue making it. I have no problem with the dude doing what the dude wants to do, okay? But I think where it gets weird and where it gets tricky is that it's become a thing now where he's trying to, like, make fetch happen, okay? And I know that there's been some big cameos. So, for instance, there's been a big cameo of Lex Luthor, right? And there's been this big reveal that this universe here in Peacemaker is Earth X. Okay. The issue here, right, and part of this is just that because Gunn has been out there talking about this so much and promoting it so much, partially because he literally created a podcast, a official DCU created podcast, right, that comes out weekly, where they discuss the show, right? The problem is, I don't think the show's very popular. It has thus far not charted on Nielsen's chart. Now, it could chart on Nielsen, you know, and I think maybe what they're banking on is a little bit of the end of the season effect, a little bit of, oh, there's these big crazy reveals and cameo stuff at the end of the season that's going to pull people in. And it is a second season, so you would imagine it's getting the first season viewership, people catching up, all added to it. But I would argue that already kind of makes it seem a little disappointing for Peacemaker because it has not charted thus far with all of that kind of stuff already working for itself. And remember, too, that Gunn claimed that Superman was going early to digital because of Peacemaker. Right? Like, we all saw that. Everybody remember that? And then, like, later tried to walk that back a bit by saying that you don't need to watch Superman to enjoy Peacemaker. So it's, like, really weird. And I think at this point, like, he's talked out of both sides of his mouth so much that it's hard to kind of keep up with which, like, what are we doing here? What are we actually talking about? But make no mistake about it, the actions of Warner Brothers are very loud. So they send the Superman movie to digital early, and I mean, I don't know, man. I don't really think that the numbers were all that great. You can kind of track how the discounts were applied to that thing. I don't really think it did all that well on its digital sales. And then again, that was sort of claimed by Gunn to be a thing to get people to watch Peacemaker, and it seems like just nobody's really watching Peacemaker. So here's the thing. To me, it's a bad look when your personal pet project is the next big thing, and you're using company resources to do a podcast that breaks it down every week. You're using your platform to promote the show and say that Superman is a setup for it and it's all the DCU and it's all really cool. It's kind of a bad look when none of that seems to be doing much for the show. It's not charting. I don't think the podcast that he did is getting all these crazy views and people are really into it. And so it ends up kind of feeling like instead of, oh shit, Lex Luthor, the Lex Luthor is in the Peacemaker show, therefore the Peacemaker show is like really cool and it's a really big deal. It actually starts to feel like the opposite. It starts to feel like, oh my God, it's just James Gunn's band of misfit toys. It's like the James Gunn Superman Lex Luthor showing up on his weird little Peacemaker show. Everything's feeling really small. And of course, Creature Commandos never charted either. And that was the first DCU thing. Right? So I think that that's a bad look. But on top of that, because he's so obsessed with controlling the narrative and because he's so obsessed with doing a podcast after every episode of a show that like basically nobody's watching, I'm sorry, but that's what it is. He won't stop talking about stuff that's not Peacemaker and all this other shit, and he keeps putting his foot in his mouth. So, like, dude, I could fill a fucking hour with all the stupid shit that James Gunn has said just in the past couple of weeks, okay? But a couple of the really stupid ones that stick out recently has been his whole thing about Batman and his whole thing that, like, actually, it's not the casuals, it's you, the fans, the people that watch this podcast, the people that watch my stupid Peacemaker show. It's actually you that's the problem. It's not the normies when it comes to Batman. And it's just like everybody with a brain can see that that is a stupid, foolish answer. And there's just no way that you can take that answer seriously. James, you yourself said on the podcast with Horowitz that it would not be a good idea to have the DCU Batman and the DCU Batman in the same calendar year released. Why? Because all the hardcores aren't going to be able to figure it out, James? No! Dude, oh my God. Like, it's just so fucking silly. And then on top of that, all the shit he's saying about, like, the conflict in the Middle East and Gaza and all this other stuff. It's like, dude, you don't need like this whole, like, actually, I'm clarifying this because of this and this and this. None of it sounds good. None of it looks good. And it's really bad, man. It's a bad fucking look, bro. This isn't the all put together, well, total architect of the DCU. That's not what this feels like, dude. This feels like James Gunn's little fan fiction pet project bullshit. It feels small. It feels weird. And you're not humanizing yourself. It doesn't feel professional. It doesn't feel put together. It feels petty and small. And as I kind of was saying at the beginning of this segment, this is shit people called him out on almost immediately, right? And everybody got so butthurt about me. Like, myself and many others started to try to call this out early on, right? Where we were like, wait, what do you mean Peacemaker's going to continue? What do you mean the Suicide Squad is canon, but not the stuff that you don't want? How is this not just James Gunn's fan fiction? How is this not just the fucking Nepo James Gunn universe? People were trying to call him out very early on for this. Other people were trying to call out how overexposed and how crazy it was that he was being online. I mean, dude, here's the thing that's really weird, right? James, like years and years later, is now in this place where he's trying to talk about DCU Batman and DC Batman and how it's totally fine. You don't need to worry about that, comic book fan. Normies don't care about that. And yet, one of the very big controversies that happened very early on is that an incredible trade reporter, Adam B. Very, broke that Gunn desperately wanted Robert Pattinson's Batman to merge with his Superman. And Gunn publicly shamed this trade reporter on social media, saying he needs news sources. No, the fuck he doesn't, brother, because years later, you yourself admitted that it's something you've thought about. Of course you've thought about it. And there's been nothing but even more reporting suggesting that that was a big thing that you wanted. So it's just silly, dude. It's not a good look. It doesn't, in my opinion, and I know I'm a bad messenger for this because I don't like this motherfucker, right? But the reality of the situation is somebody's got to step in. I think it's literally getting to that point. And I guess we'll see, right? Because we'll see what Peacemaker actually ends up doing. We'll see how Supergirl, is Supergirl the James Gunn show? Like, is Supergirl going to have this white-haired, spiky motherfucker all over the place? Like, is he doing all the interviews? Is he doing all the press? Is he doing a little podcast after every... Like what are we doing here? You know? I think the direction that this is going in is not good. And I really think somebody needs to step in, because the truth is, like, I've actually tried to avoid most of this, right? Because of what everybody says about every time I bring this up. And again, I've had this take for years, and I think he is who he is, and he acts the way that he acts, and it's not a good look, right? It's not a good look. You'd like to imagine that given where we're at, like, right now, maybe we could adjust things. I don't think it's going to work as the... as James Gunn's little fan fiction misfit toy universe. I don't think that's going to work. And I think that he needs to get off social media. And I think that this thing needs to grow up. You know what I mean? I seriously fear for how all of this is going, because, like, I'm not joking, man. I don't think there's a lot of traction on Peacemaker at all. And I do think it hurts the brand. I do think it makes everything feel small and less significant and less serious. You know what I mean? So I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys think I'm crazy? Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think that he's doing a bang-up job? Or do you agree that it's like, man, yeah, this just is not a good look. This just doesn't feel good. I think this Gunn take is really disingenuous. Oh, okay. The fact that to start off the dead universe, he takes it upon himself, keep things worked in the DCU. I mean, you're not really saying much there. I understand it. It's not. I think you're just using that word disingenuous. I don't even think you know what that means. But I mean, you think this stuff was working in the DCU. Where's the evidence that it was working? I mean, his stuff in particular did not perform well at all. First season of Peacemaker got like Miss Marvel numbers. Like, nobody watched it. So what do you mean that was successful DCU? What's the most successful DCU stuff? It's Zack Snyder's stuff. So your point makes zero fucking sense, brother. Like, I think it's okay that they keep the most successful DCU stuff. Well, if they had done that, it would be Zack Snyder shit. Right? So I don't know what the fuck you're on about, brother. Canon versus not canon is confusing, but I do happen to enjoy both his Superman and Peacemaker. I wonder how people... there's got to be some people that are enjoying both. 100%. There has to be, right? But I'm just telling you, like, this thing is not popping off, and I feel like it's a bad look, man. We'll see. Maybe it'll chart in the last couple of weeks. It has a lot of things kind of going for it as far as, like, how it could chart or whatever, but yeah. Tim O'Brien, thank you for the 5 gifted, brother. Appreciate you. Thank you. Snyder shit was still ass. Let's not forget. I mean, that... You could feel that way. It still did way better numbers than anything DC. It's literally the best stuff. The best stuff. The most... like, the biggest movies they've ever had is the Zack Snyder stuff. Aquaman randomly, right? But even that, like, it's coming out of Zack's stuff, you know? I can't believe this whole time the Snyder bros were right. Yeah, they might have been. I don't know. It's hard to say. Ratings should matter more than money. Yeah, I think they both matter. I try, but I can't like Peacemaker's a 6.5 out of 10. Vigilante is the only good character in the show. It's just not for me. I'm not even speaking to the quality. I'm speaking to the numbers. I'm speaking to, like, the optics of this whole thing. I just think this whole thing is not looking good, brother. Like, I don't think this shit's looking good. Like, I feel like it just looks silly that Gunn's like, hey, yeah, my Peacemaker show, and dude, we're gonna let Superman go early, and dude, I'm gonna put Peacemaker in Superman, and then I'm gonna make all these people really care about Peacemaker and all this shit, and I'm gonna do all this shit in Peacemaker, and we're gonna do a fucking podcast for it, and like, bro, like, no, who gives a shit? Like, for real, who gives a shit? Like, imagine if Kevin Feige was like, here's Iron Man, and now we're gonna do Tony's stupid cousin fuckhead maker. That's basically what it is. Overbound with a 5 spot says Zach stuff was adults only. Not really something you would take your kids to, like the MCU or the DCU. I hear it killed toy sales for DC. Oh yeah, I never heard that. In fact, if you talk to McFarlane, right? I'm pretty sure McFarlane says that those things were incredible for the toy sales. And to this day, the Snyder stuff sells really well, toys-wise, because people were really passionate about it. And also, I think that stuff had a lot of aura. Like, Zack's stuff was fucking badass, you know what I mean? It was fucking badass. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, is that enough? Hey, look, I know it's a Monday, but like, dude, like, I was hoping for some really cool insight and feedback at the end of that segment. Dude, are you guys just like really sleepy today or whatever? Because I'm doing a lot of heavy lifting today. Guys. You could step up. You could make one of these clips really good. You know, like you could, you know, let's can we just pick up the pace a little bit? Holy shit.